Guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to a new video. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. I have promised that I will upload a video about are we close to a bottom or have we already seen the bottom, and if not, when can we approximately expect to hit the bottom. If you like this kinds of updates, then please do me a favor, like, subscribe, click on the bell, click on all so you don't miss anything. Leave me a comment, share this video with your friends if you think it's useful. Also feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, those links in the descriptions. Alright, cool. We're starting off here with Bitcoin, and we're looking at the daily chart, and this is not the current price action. No, this is all the way back from 2018, the end of the bull market. And sometimes to predict what is going to happen in the future, we need to look to the left, so we need to look in the past, and it will not always be exactly the same, but you know what they say, history never repeats but it rhymes. So maybe we can find some signals that say that we are close to a bottom. I have drawn some stuff out, and that is first of all to start off the exact top all the way here to the bottom, and if I'm not mistaken that was December 16th of 2018, and there was a drop of 83.84%, and I've measured it even with the magnet, so it is 100% correct. So let's say 84% all the way from the top to the bottom, and it took us 363 days, so 2 days shy of a year from the absolute top to the absolute bottom. After that we suddenly had a rally up. I think that surprised a lot of people. That took 193 days, so a bit more than half a year from this bottom all the way here to this top at approximately 14k. And I think a lot of people thought, oh, new bull market is in, we're going higher, but then we just dropped down, went all the way lower to approximately here 3,900. So if you missed the accumulation phase here, the Corona dump was your second shot, and then measured all the way from this top all the way to this bottom. We're talking about 816 days. I have a W here, I will come back at it in a second, but just to put the previous bear market a little bit in perspective, top to bottom, more than 80% from the absolute top to the bottom measured in time was, what did I just say, 163 days. But if you want to measure it from when we actually really the rally started, it was higher. Now a lot of people would say, but if the Corona never happened, then we would have gone higher. I do not agree with that. A lot of technical analysts will never ever look at the news. They just play the chart, and sometimes they don't even know how fast it or how far it will pump up or dump down, but they're just looking at the charts, and the news is then just something that maybe gives that extra kick and extra drive, but they never actually look at the news. So what I'm trying to say is that just because we're dumping down, you have different phases. Don't be fooled by just a sudden pump up. We could have that right now again in the next couple of weeks or months, and then we can just cool off again and make a low or even a new low. Now if we project this kinds of data on what we are at right now, then we come to the following conclusion. I am taking this top as the absolute top. That is, if I'm not mistaken, 68 or 69,000. Some people measure from this, but this top was higher. So this is for me the absolute top of the bear market. And then I extended all the way to where we are today. That is 310 days. Reminder, this was 363 days. So then we have approximately still 50 days to go, a little bit less than 2 months. And the drop from the top all the way to the lowest price that we have put down, that was 17,600, was quote unquote only 74%. So if you just take this idea, then not only do we have more days to go if we want to kind of equal the bear market in length and in dumpage, but we also of course need to go a little bit more down, let's say approximately 80%, then you will reach that, let's say $13,000 to $12,000 for Bitcoin. Sounds a little bit horrible. Right now we're trading approximately 20k, so that would still be quite the drop. That actually also would coincide a little bit with what we have seen here, because here we traded sideways for a very long time at and around that 6,000. Everybody thought this is the accumulation phase. Now we're just going sideways, and at some moment we will slowly go up again. That didn't happen. We then had another drop of 50% from approximately 6,000 to 3,000, and that was then eventually the real bottom. And at 3,000 also a lot of people called for $1,000, $1,500, or even less than $1,000, but that was then eventually the real bottom of the bear market. Do I personally think that the bottom is in? No, just because if you just look at the data, I think it's A, too fast, and B, what you usually see with real crashes that we're dumping down, and don't mind the message, this is what we're using for the daily videos, but I just want to paint like a broader picture, is you see a big dump down and then kind of sideways section, and then eventually going higher, or that you really see bottom confirmations. Yes, you could say this is actually a big bottom confirmation, so yes, there is a sincere possibility that we are creating some kind of a bottom, but I just have a hard time believing that if this is really the bottom at 17,600, that we are testing and retesting it just so many times, and also because in the time factor 310 days from the absolute top, that would also be the shortest bear market in the history of Bitcoin. Of course, for everything is a first, and it could be possible. Matter of fact, that 17,600 was the absolute bottom. Then the bear market from top to absolute bottom was only 220 days. That is just a little bit weird. In a macro environment where we have high inflation, where the dollar index is absolute leading, and where the the world will most likely slide in economic recession, not only in Western countries in Europe or America, but most likely all countries all over the world in a matter of time. Then there is, of course, this most important thing that you probably get tired of seeing this over and over again, but it's also important. That's the dollar index. Everything during this financial crisis is tied up to the dollar index. Everything's selling off, crypto, gold, silver, stocks. Once the dollar index is rallying up and the central banks keep rising the interest rates, and they need to keep on rising the interest rates to fight inflation. Now this of course looks very unsustainable. If you have been looking at charts for a little bit, then you see that this is just almost going parabolic here on the dollar index, and this sooner or later will break down, and then we are going lower, but so far we're not there yet. If you have seen more of my videos, then you know that I'm aiming for this top right here, approximately 112 to 120. So we could go really much higher and have a blow off top. Maybe that would be then the bottom for Bitcoin, that we're really crashing down one more time and then going a little bit sideways and eventually finding our way up. I could definitely see that happen in the next couple of weeks, but for now that is not the case. Also, if I'm zooming in, I do have to say it looks a little bit like the dollar index is running on his final legs, shall we say, because the tops are getting closer to each other in the factor of time and in the percentage, so in horizontal and vertical. Now let me quickly just measure this real quick. Then we're seeing this top to this top was 33 days and only 1%. Now 1% for the dollar index is okay. This top to this top was 28 days and 3%. That is 3% for the dollar index, quite a lot. And then from this top to the current top is 55 days, 1.3%. So these tops are getting quite close to each other. Let's measure this for fun, that you kind of have a perspective of what are we talking about. This was 73 days, but it was 5%. And measured, let's say, from this top to this top was 2.5% over 105 days. You know what, maybe actually I should take this top then, it's a little bit better. This is 2% over 35 days. This actually is also a nice top. Measured from here to here is 3.8% over 200 days. That's quite a lot. So I think we are kind of running our final legs, but in my opinion is that as long as the central banks keep rising the interest rates, we'll see the dollar spike until at a certain point it will break. That is the intention of the central banks. The dollar index needs to break, needs to go to the downside. Then we might be finally see some peak inflation, stock market slowly coming back up, and crypto coming back up as well. I'm not saying that once inflation really picked out, the dollar index is coming down. Yippee-ki-yay, we're going to 100k. Absolutely not. That is not how market cycles work. I most likely will see a longer sideways period where just not a lot is happening. We maybe have volatility of, let's say, 1 or 2% a day for BTC. What we know in the bull markets, that is absolutely nothing. You can have that within an hour. But that is a scenario that I could see playing out. And maybe there will be in 2023 or 2024 another intermediate bull run that we eventually completely retrace again, or retrace most of it. I could definitely see that happen. There will be a story, there will be a narrative. But for now, I'm leaning strongly towards the bottom is not in yet. It would be percentage-wise not a lot, the drop down, although maybe it hurts a lot in your portfolio, and time wise it will be the shortest market. And put that next to a severe inflation scenario, global crisis, supply chain, wars with Ukraine and Russia. It sounds very, very unlikely that this is already the bottom and that we are close to an end. Now I put it as a W here as a reminder for myself. I'm going to take this out. It looks a little bit ugly. What I want to show you is that there is a little bit of a W here on the weekly, where a lot of people are looking at and they say, well, this W here in 2018, that was then really the ultimate bottom, and then eventually we went higher until we had that Corona dump. And it actually looks like we are now forming the same kind of price action on BTC, and actually it would be a very nice double bottom if that would play out, that you have this here on the weekly, and then eventually we're going higher. If that happens, I will definitely switch bullish, but like I said, right now there is just everything is pointing down on the macro that I am staying very cautious. But this is a scenario that a lot of people are looking at. If that is something you believe in, then this is the accumulation phase, of course, where we're talking about right now. And then we can say, you know what, we have tested that 19,000, 18,000 so many times. And now we are going higher again. Something that this scenario has going for it is here on the weekly that we, it looks like we're having a bullish divergence. You see the money flow here coming up and the momentum wave is coming up, but also look here on a broader perspective, you have such a long time of green money flow, and then you would have a relatively slow or not a lot of time in the red and then going higher again. That for me also doesn't make a lot of sense. With saying that, of course, I have to be honest that also this period in time was also not that long compared to the green. But like I said, yeah, still I just find it a little bit hard to believe that this would be it. If I'm wrong, like I said, I will be the first to admit, and I will change my bias. But just simply explained in the factor of time and the percentage of dumpage that we have seen so far, I am strongly believing that there is still some pain to go, and maybe some sideways boring action where everybody leaves crypto, thinks it's dead, it will never come up again, people leaving the space. And then that is then kind of your accumulation phase. And right now, with every pump, we have too many moon boys, we have too many people jumping in. After that, we have big dumps, people getting wrecked, and that is the brutality of a bear market. So just to put that a little bit in perspective. Alright guys, that will be it for this video. Hope you like it. Let's do a follow-up in, let's say, a month or 2 months or 3 months. That would be very nice to see then where we are standing. If you like these kinds of videos and updates, then please do me a favor, like, subscribe, click on the bell, click on all so you don't miss anything. Leave me a comment, share this video with your friends if you think that's useful. Feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, those links in the descriptions. And I wish you all a very, very good weekend into the next one. Bye bye.